You are standing knee-deep in black water that smells like the inside of a grave. The tunnel ceiling scrapes your shoulders. Your candle is the only light in half a mile of brick and filth. Somewhere ahead, something is moving. You tighten your grip on the rake and keep walking. This is not a nightmare. This is Tuesday. This is your job. This is your life. Welcome to Victorian London, 1840. Population 2 million. Sewage system? None. Everything the city eats, drinks, and discards ends up here, under your feet, flowing through tunnels that were never built for a man to walk in. And yet, here you are. Your name does not matter to anyone above ground. You are 9 years old, barefoot on the banks of the Thames, and you already know what poverty smells like. Your mother washes other people's clothes for 3 pennies a week. Your father disappeared 2 winters ago. The room you share with 4 other families is smaller than a stable stall, and the straw on the floor has not been changed since before you can remember. The older boys on the riverbank are mudlarks. They wade into the Thames at low tide and pick through the mud for coal fragments, rope, nails, bones, anything a scrap dealer will buy. You do it too. Cold brown water up to your knees, fingers digging through filth, pocket filling with pieces of coal the size of your thumbnail. On a good day, you make a penny. On a bad day, the Thames simply takes your boot. That is how you meet old Sawyer. He finds you sitting on the bank in one sock, counting 4 pieces of coal and a bent spoon. He is 60 if he is a day, wearing a coat so stiff with old filth it could stand on its own. He carries a long pole with an iron hook at the end, a canvas sack over his shoulder, and a tin lantern tied to his belt. He looks at your 4 pieces of coal, sits down next to you, and opens his hand. 3 shillings. 3 shillings in one night. You stare. He nods toward the iron grate in the embankment wall, half submerged in river mud. Down there, he says. That is where the real money is. You are 10 years old the first time you go underground. The entrance is a brick arch just wide enough for a man's shoulders, locked behind a rusted iron gate that Sawyer opens with a key no official ever gave him. The smell hits you before you are through the gate. It is not just bad, it is alive. It is the concentrated waste of 1 million human beings pressed into brick corridors below the richest city in the world. You gag. Sawyer does not even blink. He lights your candle from his lantern, hands you a short rake, and points into the dark. Your boots are 2 sizes too large, stuffed with rags at the toe, tied tight with string. They are the most important thing you own. Lose a boot in here and the water gets in. And the water in here does not just make you cold, it makes you sick. It makes you dead. You have seen it happen. 3 weeks ago, a mudlark named Thomas walked into the sewers with a split sole and was in the ground before the month was out. Not the sewers that got him, the infection. You learn to walk with your feet sideways on the curved brick floor, where it is slightly higher and slightly drier. You learn to read the water level by the stain lines on the walls. A dark line at chest height means there was a flood surge this week. You do not work after heavy rain. The surge comes without warning, a wall of black water rolling through the tunnel, fast enough to knock a man off his feet and pin him against the brick until his lungs fill. It has happened to better toshers than you. It will happen to someone you know before the year is out. What you are looking for is everything the city throws away without knowing it. Coins, mostly. They fall from pockets on bridges, get swept into gutters, wash through drains into the main tunnels. A halfpenny, a penny, sometimes a 6pence. Once, Sawyer found a full sovereign jammed in the silt near a Cheapside junction. He talked about it for 3 years. You are looking for silverware, too. Spoons, mostly. The kitchens of the wealthy houses above you lose cutlery to the drains constantly. You look for copper nails, bits of rope, brass fittings from pipes, fragments of bone that a glue factory will buy. You look for rags. Even soaked rags are worth something to the paper mills. You drag your rake slowly through the sediment at the tunnel floor, feeling for anything solid. You check every crevice in the brick, every lip of mortar where coins catch and sit. You move like you have all night. Because you do. The tools are simple, and they never change. The pole is 6 feet long with a hook at the end for probing deep silt and pulling things toward you without bending down into the water. The rake has flat, wide tines for sifting through the soft black mud at the channel bottom. The canvas sack hangs from your shoulder and gets heavier as the night goes on. The lantern is fixed to a leather strap around your chest, so both hands stay free. When the candle burns low, you light another from the stub. You carry 4. If you run out of light underground, you do not move. You sit down on the highest piece of brick you can find, pull your knees up, and wait for daylight to filter through a distant grate. It has happened twice. Both times you come up shaking and do not go back for a week. There are other toshers, maybe 40, working the London sewers in 1845, maybe more. They work in groups of 3 or 4 because the tunnels are dangerous alone and because competition gets violent. There are sections of tunnel that belong, by unspoken rule, to specific groups. You do not cross into Old Jack's territory near Southwark without permission. You do not take a single coin from the Fleet drain junction on Tuesdays when the Blackfriars crew works it. The rules are not written anywhere, but the consequences of breaking them are written on the face of a young tosher you meet one morning at the embankment gate with 2 broken fingers and a split lip. He tried to work alone near London Bridge. He does not try it again. The police do not like toshers. There is a law, loosely enforced but real, against entering the sewers without permission from the Metropolitan Commission of Sewers. Nobody has ever been given that permission. What this means in practice is that you enter before dawn and exit before the city wakes up, moving fast through the embankment gates, keeping low, watching for the dark coats of the river police on their boats. If they catch you above ground with a full sack and sewer mud on your coat, they take the sack. Sometimes they take you too, hold you a night, let you out with nothing. You lose the night's work. You lose the contents of the sack. You lose the day's food. You learn to hide what you find in 3 separate pouches under your coat. Never everything in one place. The gas is the thing that frightens you most. Not the rats, though the rats are everywhere. Brown river rats the size of small cats that run along the ledges above the waterline and drop into the channel ahead of you as you walk. Not the darkness. Not even the surge. The gas. It collects in low pockets where the tunnel bends and the air does not move. You carry your candle low and watch the flame. If it bends toward the ground, there is fire damp, methane rising from the sediment. If it goes blue at the tip, you back up immediately and do not breathe until you are around the corner. If it goes out, you have already been in there too long. You have seen a man survive a fire damp pocket near Bermondsey by lying face down in 6 inches of sewage with his coat pulled over his head until the pocket passed. He came out black from chin to boot and laughed about it. 6 months later, his lungs gave out. The cough he brought out of the sewers never left him. By 15, you know the tunnels better than the streets above them. You know which junctions flood first, which sections hold the deepest silt, which bends under the wealthy neighborhoods collect the most dropped coins. You work 3 nights a week in winter when the water is low. In summer, the heat and the gas make the deeper tunnels dangerous past an hour. The smell in summer is something no living man should have to describe. Whole neighborhoods above you leave their windows nailed shut. The newspapers call it the Great Stink. You have been living inside the Great Stink since you were 10 years old. Above ground, you are nothing. Less than nothing. The word tosher is not a profession, it is an insult. Shopkeepers step back when you approach the counter. Landlords will not rent to you. The woman at the bread stall covers her basket when she sees you coming, not because she thinks you will steal, but because she cannot stand to have your hands near the food. You smell. No amount of washing entirely removes it. It is in your coat, your hair, the calluses on your hands. Children on the street point at you. Grown men say nothing, but move to the other side. You buy your bread, carry it back to a room in a Bermondsey lodging house that costs 4 pennies a night, and eat alone. A good night is 3 shillings. That is what a factory worker earns in a day standing upright in dry air. You earn it crawling through excrement with a candle in your fist. A great night is 5 shillings. One night near Cannon Street, your rake catches the edge of something heavy in the silt. A silver pocket watch, stopped at 2:15, chain intact. You bring it to the marine store dealer on Rosemary Lane, wrapped in a rag. He gives you 11 shillings without looking you in the eye. You eat meat for 3 days. The years go by the way years go by for men who do dangerous work in the dark. Slowly, and then suddenly. At 20, you are fast and fearless in the tunnels. At 25, you have a routine, a circuit, a set of trusted entry points, 2 men you work with who you trust as much as anyone in your life. At 30, you notice the cough that comes every winter does not leave in spring. Your knees ache on cold nights. The skin on your hands is cracked so deep in the creases that no dirt ever fully washes out of the lines, and your palms are stained permanently the color of old leather. At 35, one of your crew does not come up from the Rotherhithe tunnel on a November night. You search for 2 hours, with your lantern turned all the way up. You find his sack wedged under a brick ledge, his pole floating face down in a junction. The surge must have come from a tributary. It takes 4 days for the river to give him back. You go back into the sewers the following week. There is nothing else. At 40, your cough is a fixture. Every morning starts with 10 minutes bent over a bucket. Your left knee swells on wet nights and stays swollen until the cold breaks. Your eyesight, strained for 30 years in candlelight, blurs at the edges in open air. The younger toshers work faster than you now. They know the tunnels differently, take risks you have learned to read as certain death. You work alone more often, slower, more carefully. By 43, 3 shillings a night feels like a good haul. By 45, you cannot make it through a full night underground. The gas catches you faster now. Your lungs, 3 decades deep in sewer air, have a smaller margin. You work mornings at low tide, shorter circuits, closer to the exits. The last morning you go underground, you find 7 pennies, a bent copper spoon, and a child's leather shoe. You drag yourself back to the embankment gate just as the city above is waking up. Carts rolling over the cobbles above your head, the sound of 1,000 boots, voices, the ordinary noise of London going about its business, completely unaware of what is directly beneath it. You sit on the wet steps inside the embankment gate for a long time before you climb back up into the grey morning air. You have spent 35 years feeding yourself from the waste of a city that does not know your name. The city above threw it all away. You were the one who went down and got it back. You close the iron gate behind you. You do not lock it. Someone else will need it tomorrow.